Awesome, awesome. Here we go. So, what's going on, folks? Welcome to another season. I know we missed 2020, but this is kind of the 2021. This is the start of the 2021 FAMU preseason, or not preseason, pregame breakdowns and stuff. So, this week we're starting off with the Orange Blossom Classic down in Miami, and this is going to be the new format. So, for those of you that I know there's for those of you that are watching, so shout out to that one viewer right now. Leave a comment. Those of you that come across this and join later on Twitter and YouTube, by all means, leave a comment. Leave your score predictions for tomorrow down in South Florida. I haven't left yet for this game yet, but soon I'll be leaving, so it's all good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. It's been way too long. So I can't wait. So, but yeah, this is going to be the new format and everything for these. It's going to be a lot better, a lot more high tech and everything, a lot more enjoyable. Maybe I can probably bring like maybe Flash or Ace on here one of these weeks. The intro's next. So after that, we're going to dive right into this. We're going to start breaking down Jackson State and FAMU players to watch, answering some questions that I've got myself about both sides, and a score prediction. So, with all due respect, sit tight. The intro's next, and then see you in a few seconds. So what's going on, people? Again, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. Orange Blossom Classic, we made it finally. It's crazy what happens in literally in less than a year. Literally, grad school, 2 Stanley Cups, and the Super Bowl. So life's been good for me. Let's dive right into it. Again, I know some people are new watching and everything, so by all means, ask a question in the comment section. Leave your score predictions for tomorrow. So, let's go ahead and do what we do. Let's have fun with this. So, for both FAMU and Jackson State, I know there's a lot of hype going on around both teams and stuff, but the thing that we need to all really kind of realize is for both, and I'm expecting big things from both sides, honestly, throughout this season, you're only as good as your last game. And I say that because Jackson State's last game was a loss. The last time we saw FAMU play, it was a loss. So both sides are going to come into this thing tomorrow with something to really prove. And that's just the fact. FAMU lost the Florida Classic in 2019. Jackson State lost to Alabama A&M. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I'm going to add that to the... I like that. Awesome. I love that I can do that. Thank you, because I missed y'all too. I missed, honestly, doing this in 2020. It was very... Saturdays were fun still, but it was very kind of meh. Because, the SEC is nice and all that, but not having HBCU football in the fall, it's just it doesn't make college football hit the same. to be honest with you. So I mean, yeah, that was my takeaway from it and stuff. But I'm glad to be back and doing this during the fall and stuff. So by all means, hey, as long as FAMU keeps racking up the wins and stuff, this makes this a lot easier and makes the reaction after the game a lot easier. So, but so a couple of facts about Jackson State and this whole rivalry with FAMU. So Jackson State does lead the series 10-7, 10-7-2 all time. The last two times Jackson State and FAMU have played, Jackson State has really come away with the win in really just crazy fashion. The Hail Mary in 2014, and then you had what some call an equipment malfunction, or just a failure to kind of get the special teams unit on the field in 2018. So I mean, so much has happened in this rivalry. But overall with Jackson State, they finished 4-3 in the spring. They can't be taken lightly because they've basically made a whole entire 180 on their team as far as personnel and everything. Coaches stayed the same. I'm not sure if they added coaches like FAMU did, but outside of that all stayed the same. They're explosive on offense if they find a groove. Because I know a lot of you guys remember as well as I do, during the spring, they were putting up, 40-plus points against most of their opponents, except, I believe, Southern. They were putting up 40 points. So I would expect them to be better, especially this season. I do think they're going to be right there in the SWAC East. As well, too, Jalen Jones from the University of Florida transferred out again. Quincy Casey transferred out, too, for Jackson State. So Shador, and I believe they brought in one Power 5 transfer at quarterback. So it is Shador's show as of now. I hope Daddy Ball doesn't really play a major role if Shador starts to really look like a freshman. Because honestly, if he starts to look like a freshman, I would put in the other Power 5 transfer that came in. I'm just saying, because I believe in playing the hot hand, and that's not even bias talking. That's just honesty talking. Their O-line was poor in the spring, but I'm expecting that to change too. But again, as I said earlier, you're only as good as your last game. So I'm anticipating the offensive line to be better, but at the same time too, it would not surprise me if their offensive line showed no improvement tomorrow. So it's just something to keep an eye on. And then defensively, of course, after going back and looking at a lot of those games from the spring, I came away very intrigued at the fact that and I think this is because, teams always take on the personality of the coach, and the position that the coach played is always a huge benefactor of what's to come with the team. Kind of like when FAMU had Earl Holmes, FAMU had some pretty good linebackers. Excellent linebacker play. Heck, they had a linebacker drafted, Brandon Hepburn. So, I mean, it's only fitting that Jackson State plays a bunch of nickel against a lot of their opponents. And with that comes the fact that they put 5 DBs on the field. And it's just all-out athleticism everywhere. You got Isaiah Bolden, who played in the spring. You got Dejon Nugget Warren, who played in the spring. Shiloh is going to be playing tomorrow. I believe his name's C.J. Thompson, number 3 for them. He's going to be in the secondary. So that's 4 of 5 DBs they're going to put on the field tomorrow, right off the bat, that I can tell you about. I know they lost 2 of them to the transfer portal because I guess they didn't fit the culture that he was trying to build for whatever reason. Who knows? That's up to them. That's what they do. But, players to watch also for Jackson State, Shador Sanders, Shane Hooks, who's one of 4 defensive backs, one of 4 wide receivers that came in, along with Joshua Lanier, who came from Alabama, who was a graduate transfer. And then, the other one, too, that they lost, Dalen Baldwin, which is one that was very surprising. I mean, I understand you want to play against better competition, but the surprising thing about it was that, he was on pace for 1,000 yards. If that had been a 10-game season, he would have had 1,000 yards. So it was kind of head-scratching that he walked out. But I mean, hey, for whatever reason, everyone's got their own reasons and stuff. So by all means, do what you got to do. So I mean, I know Michigan won today, so I know he's happy. And hey, good luck to you. Also, to Warren Newman, the speedy slot receiver, who a lot of people want to compare to Xavier Smith for Jackson State. He's also a player to watch. And then also, as I already stated, DBs Shiloh Sanders and Isaiah Bolden, who transferred in from Florida State. And then the SEC transfer from Missouri, Aubrey Miller Jr., who played a lot in the spring at linebacker, played a lot inside in the box, played outside as an edge rusher. So honestly, expect no less. I don't even be surprised if really at one point in the game, if we see Aubrey Miller line up at one edge, and then we see Niles Gaddy line up at the other edge, and both coming in to make plays for Jackson State. That's something that would not surprise me. But now for the FAMU side of things. So we all know Jackson State signed the top class in the FCS, but here's the thing that people forget. In 2020, FAMU signed a top 10 class in the FCS, and that went unnoticed because of everything that happened with COVID and stuff, and all the HBCUs electing not to play in the fall of 2020. So, and that's okay, because a lot of these guys, the beauty of it is you've had 2 full off seasons now to sit and study and go to school, learn the plays, learn the schemes of the defense, learn the scheme on offense, get comfortable in the scheme. And now it's kind of like, I guess, the super seniors that Arkansas refers to. And then you've also got, I guess, your super freshmen. Do you think JSU will have any fatigue hangover from playing? Honestly, that's something that I'm intrigued to find out come tomorrow, because Jackson State, Alabama Aim's playing right now, but Jackson State, I do want to see how that factors in, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care what people say about, okay, it's hot in Louisiana, it's hot in Mississippi. Miami Heat's a different type of heat. I'm just going to tell you the truth as far as that goes. And then also, too, based on just looking at photos and stuff, when you see Jackson State having full padded practice down in South Florida, trying to get acclimated as much as possible to that heat, I think that's going to play a role too. So I do think part of it might be the hangover from the spring, and I do think part of it is the elements of South Florida playing a factor. And speaking of the elements too, anticipate rain tomorrow. Just going based on the 7-day forecast, I would anticipate rain tomorrow at kickoff, and maybe about 2 hours before kickoff. Just saying. So if you're going to a game, take a poncho with you. But I think that the elements are going to play a role, and I think maybe late in the second half, the hangover from playing spring might play a role. Because honestly, if you think about it, they've been going since basically the end of spring, and then you probably had a week or 2 off, and then you got right back into full-fledged summer workouts, working out in the summer, running 110s and gassers and everything else. And then after that, comes fall camp. So, I mean, it's nonstop, just full go, constantly. So, yeah, I think it'll play a little bit of a role. But also, too, in regard to FAMU and Jackson State, the last time FAMU beat Jackson State was 2003. And they beat them in the Circle City Classic 28-24. And that's the last time FAMU had pulled off a victory over Jackson State. It's been a while. And then the other beautiful thing about this is, and I know FAMU's always constantly played in Miami, whether it be the old Orange Bowl or whether it be Hard Rock Stadium, this is the first neutral site game for FAMU down in Miami since 2004, when they played Florida International in the Orange Blossom Classic back then, and what was really Billy Joe's last game as head coach of FAMU, where they lost 23-40 to the Panthers. So I mean, that's something to keep an eye on too. But the other thing about it is a bad omen going into this game is also the fact that FAMU has not won their last two classics that they've played in. The game's not named the Florida Classic, but I think everybody remembers the fifth quarter classic back in 2016, and I know everybody remembers the Tampa Classic in 2017 in Raymond James. FAMU lost both of those. That's not a good omen that you want coming into this thing. But a good omen that you do want coming into this is the fact that FAMU has never lost on a Sunday. If you remember correctly, 2013, FAMU beat Mississippi Valley on a Sunday in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. And then what happened a few years later, 2019, the Hail Mary pass on a Sunday in Bragg to beat North Carolina A&T. FAMU's undefeated on Sunday, so there's good and bad to this. There's a lot of good and bad to this. But, also, too, just like Jackson State brought in transfers, FAMU brought in transfers, too. So, a lot of people are just salivating over the fact that, Jackson State's got this and Jackson State has that. And I think that's the funny thing about it is, if it were up to a lot of the people on YouTube and in the media, FAMU's supposed to get blown out tomorrow. But I'm going to just be real with y'all. I think that's a bunch of crap. I really don't see this being a blowout for either side. I see it being more so of a dogfight. And if it rains, I think that both sides have to kind of go back to the drawing board in regard to game plan, because I think the run game is going to be crucial at that point. So, there's that. But also, too, FAMU hasn't played a game in 652 days. So, when you haven't played in that long, you're hungry. You're just hungry to play a game. And I'm just going to tell you the truth. Because, if you think us as fans and spectators are just dying to see this again, can you imagine how those guys feel? They haven't hit somebody else since 2019. The last time they played a game, they had a bad taste in their mouth because of the way they lost. Oh yeah, I'd be pissed off and ready to go play a football game too. I'd be very pissed off. I'm just gonna tell you the truth, and that's how I think it's gonna go over tomorrow. They haven't named a starting quarterback yet either, but I'll be honest with you. If you watch the Run and Gun podcast where we interviewed offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach KJ Black, I told him myself, honestly, look, I wouldn't mind it if you didn't name your starting quarterback until the day of the game. Because, look, let the media and let everybody assume what they want to assume. What everybody feels and what they say does not really matter. What matters is the people in that locker room. And that's how you got to approach it. That's the truth. So, and honestly, too, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, FAMU doesn't have a quarterback yet, so they're going to lose the game. Do you really think that they carried this thing all the way through? Rashawn McKay will more than likely take the first snap. Oh, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He will. That's likely what will happen. My thing is this, is like, do y'all really believe that they went all the way through spring and through fall camp and still don't know who the guy is or don't have a plan? Will he finish as a starter? It's hard to tell. Coach Simmons kind of alluded to Muradovich being more accurate. Yeah. He even alluded to Cameron Sapp, too. Because, honestly, I think there might come a point where, oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he does have more arm talent. Honestly, the thing about Muradovich was that he wowed a lot of people on the staff, being that he's a freshman, and he was able to pick up things like that, which is something that you love to see in a freshman. But at the same time, too, I think we'll see Cameron Sapp, because the thing that they said about Cameron Sapp was, when he's like going through like practice and stuff, it's a headache, but once he gets to a scrimmage, he looks amazing. Like the light comes on all of a sudden. So that's something to consider there. So I would anticipate seeing Cameron Sapp and definitely Rashawn McKay. Muradovic, I don't know if we'll see him tomorrow. Yeah, I think if we do see him tomorrow, I think it'll be like in a garbage time role. Like say if they get up by a whole lot and they put the second team in and they want to like kind of intertwine Sapp and Muradovic in, I think that's where we'll see Muradovic. But most definitely, yeah, I know. I think Rashawn McKay definitely starts. My thing is just people all of a sudden just assuming that there's no plan. Like, come on, really? There's no plan. Come on. But players to watch, of course, quarterback, whoever it is, most likely I think it's McKay. Wide receivers, Xavier Smith, Chad Hunter comes back from an injury. On defense, Antoine Collier, who is the UCF transfer, who actually is built a lot like Marquise Bell, and then of course Marquise Bell, who honestly pro scouts have been drooling over and everything. Look, I said it on an episode of the Running Gun podcast with Flash and Ace one night. Actually, no, with Flash one night. And I had specifically just said, fam, you might be DBU. I know we're talking a lot about the wide receivers, but fam, you might be DBU. Like, what, 3-4 Power 5 defensive backs all in one secondary? On top of what you already have in guys like Eric Smith. Like, my goodness. Like, good luck. Good luck opposing offenses. That's all I can say. Good luck. But also, too, what I want to look at as far as players to watch, and it's really the collective unit, I want to see what the offensive line is able to do. I know Keenan Forbes, Brian Crawford, and that unit are they're expecting big things this year from them. But I think, honestly, if the running game can once those transfers get fully up to speed. See, and the thing about it is with the transfers, actually, I'm gonna post this one up. Hopefully we can change the color of that one of these days. See, the thing about that is, with the transfers, is honestly, a lot of people think that they just joined like mid-camp. Most of those guys apparently had already been there from what everyone's gathering now. It's just like, I think the news was so late coming in that a lot of people weren't sure. So yeah, Antoine Collier and a lot of those guys, Levy Jenkins from Louisville, all those guys had already been there. And they had already been like participating and practicing and stuff. I think Antoine Collier probably got there last, if anything, most likely. But I mean, look, when those guys get comfortable and they get up to speed, like you're alluding to, dude, ooh, that's gonna be scary. If anything, they might already be up to speed. And speaking of that, the thing that I loved the most that I saw was a photo of Willie Simmons and the team at the luncheon and stuff. And it felt very Tom Brady-esque because everyone's having a good time and stuff, as they should. It's Miami. You're at a team function. Relax. You don't have to be serious 3 days before the game, or even 2 days before the game. Willie Simmons is constantly in his tablet studying plays, studying film still, and you love to see that. Is the defensive tackle transfer from Tennessee good? His tweets this week had me nervous. Honestly, I don't even know. I really don't know. Yeah, I am not sure 100%. My thing with that is I'm hoping he is okay, and I hope it's nothing serious. I hadn't seen any video of him being with the team and stuff based on what I've seen on Instagram and on Twitter and whatnot. So I think that's something we'll find out as we get closer to the game. So, I mean, we'll see if Savion Williams is a go. If not, I'm confident in the group that they have there already. And I think they're no everyone's talk. Everyone already knows who Isaiah Land is. Everyone knows who Savion Williams is, and everyone knows about the new transfer from Florida State. Well, Florida State and Baylor, Deontay. I forget his last name though. Deontay Williams. That's his last name. Everyone knows about those guys, but no one's talking about, according to the roster, Stefan Atkinson, who really, to me, based on just looking at videos from spring, is built like a smaller version of Chase Young. Or I shouldn't even say a smaller version of Chase Young, but he's built like Chase Young. So we'll see. We'll see. I think that if he is there, that's good for the defensive rotation along that line. That would be fantastic if he is available. But at the same time, too, if he's not, I think that they're deep enough at that position to where they should be okay. So we'll see come warm-ups, honestly, because, I mean, I wouldn't even say wait till kickoff to find that out. I'd say by the time warm-ups, if he's out there warming up, we'll know. But if he's not, then we know what it might be. Hopefully, I'm hoping it's not what I think it is. I'm hoping it's just something minor, and I hope he can play. But if he's not, next man up mentality takes hold. But a few questions that I've got regarding Jackson State for this one is simply, how big of an impact has Deion had on this team? Honestly, Deion's had a very big impact. I got a lot of respect for Deion, the player, and even the person. He's a good guy. I love his swagger. He gets a little full of himself sometimes. I guess I can say that. But overall, he's a good dude. He's breathed new life into that fan base, as you can clearly see on Twitter and stuff, and on YouTube, because they've got new fans all of a sudden now too. But I will say what he's done has shifted like the momentum in HBCU football. He's brought more attention to HBCU ball, which is something that a lot of us have been clamoring for such a long time. And I think it's only going to go up from there. I believe if you did see an article that someone wrote, he wanted a merger with the SWAC and the MEAC as a super conference, so that way it could rival that of the SEC, which would be pretty interesting to see eventually. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think the MEAC's taken enough body blows enough as is. I don't know if they can sustain any more if some teams were to leave the MEAC again, or I don't know if they would be willing to have that type of jointed thing. Who knows? Also, well, we already covered that question. How much more improved will the running game be? Look, honestly, with the rushing attack, I think that ultimately comes down to my one unit to watch tomorrow, and that is the offensive line. So I'll say this. The running game will be as good as the offensive line is. If the offensive line can get leverage and get downfield and have the running backs falling forward for 5-6 yards consistently at a time, FAMU's rushing attack, not only tomorrow, but this season, will be very successful. If they can't, you're going to see the same results, and you're going to see a heavy pass first offense again. So I think, honestly, because they had 900 plus yards rushing last season, that is not going to be good enough to get the job done in 2021. Is Michael Arnold with the team? I see him on the roster, but no mention. Most likely, yeah, he is. I mean, I would say I think he is. Yeah, I believe so. Again, just because sometimes a lot of other players take more mention than others and stuff. So I mean, I wouldn't fret. I wouldn't worry too much into that, because I mean, sometimes like I said, other players receive more talk than others and stuff. But I would expect him to be suited up and on the sidelines tomorrow. So, yeah. But yeah, if that offensive line can consistently get leverage on Jackson State and get downfield and gets the second level to the linebackers, then I think FAMU will have a chance to find a rushing attack and kind of honestly keep Jackson State off balance. And if you can keep Jackson State off balance, by establishing a rushing attack, what that then does, that pulls Jackson State out of that nickel, or they might stay in it and put an extra linebacker out there and treat it as a DB. Who knows? But if you can pull Jackson State out of that nickel, force them to go back to their base 3-4 defense, you have a chance now to then go outside and attack the perimeter. Because honestly, that's the one matchup a lot of people want to see is the FAMU receivers against these Jackson State defensive backs. If you can win your one-on-ones, there's a chance. And honestly, I do feel like for most of the game, Deion's going to put his DBs in one-on-one matchups. Because I know for a fact Deion's going to want to isolate Xavier Smith or possibly even roll coverage over there to him. And once he rolls coverage over there to him, you have David Manigo wide open. You've got, oh my gosh, it's slipping my mind. You got Chad Hunter wide open. So there's opportunities. And then you've also got Jamar Shareed wide open too, who really can play the slot just as well as Xavier Smith. So it's kind of like a Cannon Lamb, Jaquay Nunnally situation in the grand scheme of things. And heck, you got 5 punt returners. And that's actually the other thing that I meant to allude to too with the whole rushing attack. Because, DeAndre Francis out of Rickards High School, he could end up being an impact freshman tomorrow. He really could. And that's something to keep an eye on. Because honestly, even if he doesn't get carries in the backfield, he could return punts. He could return kicks. And I know Coach Simmons said a lot of times, Xavier Smith's going to do punt return stuff. But there's still ways to run reverses on punt. There's still ways to run trickery on kickoffs. So all I'm saying is, don't be surprised if you see something to that effect tomorrow with Xavier Smith and DeAndre Francis or somebody else like Jamar Shareed, K-Dot, that they call him. There's a lot of firepower you can just throw back there and let them return kicks or anything like that. And even too, how can the defense win this game? I'll tell you honestly, you have to get after Shedeur Sanders. You have to hit him early. You have to hit him often. The one thing quarterbacks don't like, especially a freshman quarterback, in a college environment like what he's about to walk into tomorrow, they don't like to be hit. If you can constantly get the pressure, maybe blitz linebackers, because that's the one thing Alabama State did against Jackson State that proved to be very successful. And once that proved to be successful, Southern started to do it, and then Alabama A&M started to do it, and it worked consistently. If you can attack that offensive line with different schemes and stuff, and take away the short checkdowns, force him to throw it deep, and also create that pressure, there's a chance that you can knock him off. That's how defense can win this game. And that makes for a field day for your secondary, who had 15 interceptions in 2019 and led the MEAC. And they could well withal do the same again. Hint, hint, DBU in the SWAC. That's all I'm going to get at. And then special teams, obviously, you have the best special teams punter in the country. You have the best kicker, more than likely, who transferred in from Delaware State, if I'm not mistaken. So all those factors add up into one. And then, oh my gosh, I got off the questions for Jackson State. Oh my goodness, how did I do that? Speaking of, how critical is it for the offensive line of Jackson State to hold up? Very critical. Because if they can't, that's not a good thing for this season. And then the fact, too, that FAMU's catching them early is a good thing, too. So I think if there's really not much of an improvement, I know they brought in guys and stuff and did this whole 180, but if you can still create pressure and build off of what teams did in the spring to them on that offensive line, you have a chance to win. And then that's going to create not controversy, but that's going to fluster them and cause them to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate the scheme and stuff mid-game, most likely. So if you can do that, you have a chance. And then also, too, with Jackson State, their running back room, according to their roster online, doesn't seem to be as deep as their wide receiver room. But again, I could be wrong with that. Like I said, they changed up so much stuff from spring to fall. So I mean, I'm not sure what to expect at the running back position. I'm really not. But yeah, and then the other things too to expect from FAMU's defense, expect more looks. Like I said earlier, expect them to force QBs to go away from the checkdowns. If you can take away the checkdown and force the deep ball, that's easy money for Antoine Collier and Marquise Bell and these defensive backs. It really is. So, I mean, there's that. More man-to-man. Honestly, I think they're going to open it up a little bit more now that you're technically, we'll say year 3.5 of Willie Simmons, because they didn't really have a 2020 to build off of. So I think that is something that you can expect to see. And finally, keys to victory. So what does FAMU need to do to win this? Honestly, I got, personally, start fast, dominate the offensive line and establish the rushing attack, consistent special teams. And then also, too, the last and final one, and I know, honestly, I can tell you now, nobody's intimidated by the Stars, but don't be intimidated by the Stars. Because I can tell you firsthand, Stars ain't nothing but little images on a computer that someone gave you as an athlete coming out of high school. Don't be intimidated by it. I would not worry about that. Look, I mean, my former coach in high school used to be a member of the 79 Bucks who almost went to the Super Bowl. They used to say all the time, they put their pants on the same way you do. They buckle their chin strap the same way you do. They bleed the same way you do. Those Stars mean absolutely nothing. And honestly, too, look, I've seen 5 stars that weren't worth anything, and I've seen guys with no stars that would literally kill themselves to just make the team. So I will leave that at that. So yeah, don't be intimidated by the Stars. The emotions of this are only going to last for so long until the actual strategic point of it kicks in. I know the hype around it's been insane, but yeah, emotions only last for so long. They really do. After those first few jitters get out the way and everybody gets knocked around and hit, those emotions, bye-bye. And from there, we're playing football, and we're going to see what happens. So, my final score prediction, and you guys can, in the comment section, by all means, leave your score predictions down there in the comments too. My score prediction for tomorrow is FAMU winning 38-34. I think that Jackson State will be able to work the ball downfield. And I think they'll do it more so late in the game. But honestly, I think FAMU will be able to find a way. I think a few of those points for FAMU might end up being a defensive touchdown at some point. 27-21. I like it. I could see it too. I could definitely see that. But yeah, if anybody else has a score prediction too, by all means, comment it down below for this. Actually, I'm going to post this one up as I get ready to close out. So yeah, 27-21, FAMU wins. I like it. I could get behind that. I think Chris would do. Yes, he definitely will. Because honestly, nobody has a punter like him in the FCS. I know Dion's saying that they've solved the kicking game at Jackson State, but I'm gonna be honest with you, they don't have a punter like FAMU does. Nobody has a punter like that. 34-17. Ooh, okay. 34-17, FAMU wins. I can get behind that. If honestly, if that happens, boy, you're not gonna want to be a Jackson State fan walking out of that stadium. You're not gonna want to be a Jackson State fan on social media after the game's over, honestly. But I hate to say it, but that wouldn't surprise me either, just to tell you the truth. But as you know, folks, that's gonna do it for me. If any of the other viewers want to comment their scores for tomorrow, by all means, as I'm wrapping this up, leave them down in the comment section. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Appreciate y'all for watching. Again, this is gonna be the new format for each and every single week. I'm liking this new setup and everything. So yeah, you'll have the score updates down below on the bottom line. You'll have the title, of course, above. And then, as I can't promise this will be the same format for after the game, because of course I won't have the laptop with me in a parking lot with probably no Wi-Fi. But I'm gonna do my best to kind of have like a little post-game reaction too for y'all. But yeah, so again, so we got 27-21, 34-17, and of course I said 38-34. Everyone's got FAMU winning. But as always, too, follow us on all of our social media platforms. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, and even the ones on Twitter, follow us. And then, of course, Instagram's at Throw Flags, Facebook is Penalty Talk. If you're going to the game tomorrow, stay safe, stay blessed. Wear your mask if you're going out to South Beach tonight, or even tomorrow night after the game, or during this whole Labor Day break. Wear your mask, because South Beach is a very wild place. I've seen it firsthand. But yeah, stay safe. Let's get a win tomorrow. Y'all have a good night.